massive, huge, thick, giant blog post from the Blizzard devs about the Season 2 workings for your tier set acquisition, including some special new things like the Omni-Token being able to be turned into a tier piece for any spec without any restriction, things like guaranteed tier set pieces per character by reaching a certain rating in Mythic Plus or PvP, or a certain progression in the raid, etc, etc. So this is quite good to go over, especially because, as we all know, I'm not trying to embarrass you too much, guys, but you know, this is a lot of text and I don't want to put you on the spot because you cannot read, so instead I'm going to lay it down for you. The first part of this blog post, let's just start with the bad news, okay? The first part of the blog post is a whole description and justification as to why they are staying with the catalyst being released after 6 weeks. Yes, I'm afraid it is certain, it is confirmed, you're not going to get the Creation Catalyst, now renamed Revival Catalyst, before the 6th week of the season. Okay, that is going to happen again in Season 2. They did try to point out with these points right here why the Creation Catalyst, according to them, felt much worse in Shadowlands, and they thought that the Creation Catalyst felt better in Dragonflight. They were pointing out how Sepulcher was a much harder raid, that Sepulcher also released in segments, so in the first week some bosses which dropped tier tokens weren't even available because the progression stopped at Anduin. That also in Sepulcher you had personal loot, so you also had even less chances to trade around tier tokens. The fact that with the raid progress being harder, the chances of defeating bosses dropping a tier set and then appearing in the Great Vault was also lower in Sepulcher, and also in Sepulcher how the kill number of bosses for the Great Vault was 3, 5 and 8 instead of what we have now, the lower number 2, 4 and 6. So they point out how with the removal of all of these things, right, the first raid having 8 bosses instead of 11, having lower number of kills required for the Great Vault, no longer being locked to personal loot, the bosses not being nearly as difficult, right, with all of these things they thought the Catalyst opening 6 weeks in wasn't that bad of a mechanic compared to Sepulcher, and they finish pointing this out. I'm sure there are going to be many people in the comments pointing out how that's totally not true because you only had one tier set at best, but Blazer points out that our data shows that these changes that we had in Dragonflight compared to Sepulcher had a very good impact. Without giving too many numbers away, we were able to see that the vast majority of players filling between 3 and 6 Great Vault slots, so let's just say Raid and Mythic Plus for example, which was the by far the most common bracket for players, either had their 4-piece set bonus completed before the Revival Catalyst opened, or they were set up to receive the 4th slot of the tier set from the Catalyst as the Catalyst became live. That was their point from the data they have. As far as the changes, as far as the new things they are adding, first of all, this is not something I thought to be that big of a deal, but they are reverting the weekly quest system to get the Catalyst charges in favor of how it worked in Shadowlands. So there is no longer a bar you have to fill and a quest you have to complete. It's always going to be automatic. Upon the Catalyst opening, all the players will receive a charge for every one of their characters. And of course, they are individual. So if your main spends the charges, all your other alts still have their own charges. There is also going to be no additional cost, no reagents, no consumables, no things you have to grind or anything. It's just going to be one charge per week for free. Basically how it worked in Shadowlands. As for the brand new things, because this was just a revival of what we had in Shadowlands, the brand new one is the adding of a new seasonal achievement, tentatively titled Dragonflight Season 2 Master. This is at the moment planned to be awarded for clearing Aberrus, the new raid, in heroic difficulty, or obtaining 2200 rating in Mythic Plus or 1800 rating in PvP. Doing so awards the character with a Draconic Mark of Mastery, an item that can be turned to a vendor for any heroic level class set item of your choice. This can only be earned once per character, but is available the day Dragonflight Season 2 begins. The item received from the Mark of Mastery is also fully upgradable with the new upgrade system that is going to replace the Valor system. So this is going to be a new way for players to basically get a guaranteed one tier set piece, regardless of the content they are doing. So for example, this is likely to be more valuable for players who, for example, just engage in PvP or just engage in Mythic Plus and don't really have a clear path in looting a tier piece if they are not raiding, right? So far, the only choice you have, the only option you have is to hope you get one from the Great Vault, right? If you don't raid and the catalyst is not open, that's the only way you have to get a tier set. With this new change, you are at the very least guaranteed one piece. As soon as you get to 1800 rating in PvP or 2200 rating in Mythic Plus, and of course, if you clear Heroic Aberus, you get your one piece of tier set. This is also quite good because it is up to your discretion. So for example, if you looted a chest from the Great Vault to have a tier set, then you can just choose the helmet. Perhaps you got the gloves and the pants, and then you can choose the chest or the helmet. Perhaps you can wait. You can wait on that to clear the raid. You can wait on that token to get a new vault to see if you get any more tier pieces, and then you fill out the remaining tier piece you are missing from this token. You can exchange for a guaranteed tier set piece. This is quite the good addition. As I said, it's going to likely be more beneficial for the non-raid players. However, there is also something for the raid players as an extra in Season 2. The last boss of the new raid, Scale Commander Sarkareth, the final boss, will drop one Omni-Token per defeat on all difficulties. This is going to be just like a token for a tier set, which can be converted into a tier piece of your choice from all specs. So, regardless of the spec, regardless of the tier slot you want, if you loot this Omni-Token, you can turn it into a helmet for a hunter or a chest piece for a warlock or a pair of pants for a priest. This is going to be also extra loot, bonus loot. So if the boss is planned to give you 5 items, it will give you 5 items plus the Omni-Token. It's not gonna be that the Omni-Token will take away one slot from the loot pool. The Omni-Token will always be an extra bit on top of the loot the boss already gives. To finish the bits of news, they are also planning something new. This might also be quite interesting to sort of smooth out the loot in the deeper parts of the season. They are planning to lower the amount of set tokens that drop in the raid over time. The idea is that as you go deeper and deeper into the raid, of course, less and less, fewer and fewer players are going to be needing tier sets. For example, in the first weeks of the raid, everyone was complaining that they had no tier sets. But now, how many players are complaining that they have no tier sets? Now, for example, in your raid, how many times do you have to ditch? Do you have to trash away tier pieces because nobody needs them? How many times you're giving them away simply because players are hoping to roll a socket or roll a leech or avoidance since they already have one anyways? So they are planning deeper down the season to adjust the amount of tier tokens that drop from bosses in exchange in favor for more of the boss specific drops. Nowadays would be things like, for example, more grief torches dropping from Diorna, or more trinkets, more hunter bows dropping from Razaget, for example, and fewer tier tokens. And then to finish all of this, Blizzard also adds something extra for the loot, which this time is for PvP, because they are also adding to the new crafted system the new crest-based crafted system, in case you have been missing it. Things like primal infusions, concentrated primal infusions, and primal chaos are all gonna be shelved in Season 2. They're all going to go away. We're going to be using crests, the crest system we have talked about a few days ago. There is also going to be a crafting system for PvP. You're going to be using the crests of honor, and then the greater crests of honor, and then the lesser trophies, and greater trophies, which are going to be costing honor, and then of course conquest for you to craft PvP scaling pieces from the crafting system. So with this over from the blog post of Blizzard, we have some pretty good news across the board. We have the crafting system extended for PvP players. We have the extra guaranteed tier set token if you complete a certain threshold of progression for your activity, which is likely going to be more beneficial for PvP and for Mythic Plus players. And then you have the extra Omni-Token dropping from the raid to give raiders a better and easier way to flesh out, to give out and complete players' tier pieces by getting an Omni-Token. You can literally pick and choose who to give it to. Overall, it's a much better fleshed out system for the loot distribution in Season 2. Of course, there is still room, as usual, to complain, because after all, in the end, there is still the decision to keep the Revival Catalyst locked for the first 6 weeks. No doubt there are going to be still players who will be not happy with that choice. That being said, however, I'm going to leave you to be unhappy with that by yourself. Today, on this Tuesday, our dear NA friends are getting the 10.0.7 patch live. We from EU have to wait a few more hours for that to happen. So, as we wait, I'm going to leave you all, starting by thanking all of the Patreon supporters, of course, for the help and the contribution to the growth of the channel. There are plenty of useful ways to support for free. You can like and comment down below on this video. You can subscribe to the channel itself. You can also follow me over on my Twitter, as well as following me over on my stream on Twitch. So with these social unpleasantries out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys likely tomorrow. And in the meantime, today, by the way, it's spring. We are starting spring. Decent season, below autumn by a bit, far below winter, but quite a bit above summer.